Thank you. Thanks. So we'll talk about rapid response. At first, on a lot of this rapid response work, I want to thank all the contractors the Pacific States uses, Leah Elwell, Robin Drawheim, and especially Lisa Debercare with Creative Resource Strategies put a lot of this together. I want to thank our funding agencies on a lot of our rapid response stuff, Fish and Wildlife Service, but also Bonneville Power Administration. They've been a partner since the late 90s, right, Mark? It actually started with Mark, and then Mark came over and was a contractor with the commission. So we'll talk about the Columbia River Basin Rapid Response Plan. So in the early 2000s, many of you remember my administrative assistant, Susan Anderson, who was about to retire. Her husband, Bill, we used to fish a lot together and still do. He's a fire chief. And when I was describing the quagga zebra mussel situation back then, he kept saying, you may want to look at ICS. You may want to look at NIMS, National Incident Management Systems. And I kept putting it off, saying, that sounds really hard. I don't want to do that. But time came along, and we started looking at it. We started getting a little more nervous about these mussels making their way, and how would the federal agencies deal with an infestation? And then Paul Heimowitz, who works on the Columbia River Basin team back then too with the Fish and Wildlife Service prior to Theresa, he also said, well, the federal agency's got to file NIMS and ICS. If it's recognized as an emergency, mussels come, we got to do something. So long story short, we came up with the Columbia River Rapid Response Plan. Focused on the Columbia River Basin. It's drycenids, though obviously ICS can be, and this is something Washington will do. If they get pike that get below Lake Roosevelt, they're probably going to go ICS on those buggers. Multiple agencies signed in 2008, and here they are. And I think it's Jeff Hagener was the Montana Fish, Wildlife, and Parks Director for a long time, right? He signed it, but we also have Christine Gregoire, Butch Otter. But it was the 4 states, and then Columbia River Intertribal Fish Commission, Blaine Parker's here. We had British Columbia, the province of British Columbia, DOI, and NOAA Fisheries. The plan was updated in 2011 and 2014. It can be found at westernais.org. And over the last couple of years, we've been talking about an update. So we're going to do an update of the Columbia River Basin Rapid Response Plan. This is going to be most of it online right now. This is the toolkit. This is the draft website. Only a handful of you special people have seen this. But as you can see from the upper bar, there's going to be the ESA consultation, which Theresa's going to talk about, which is one of the most important parts. So you can get chemicals in the water, you need to have permits, you need to have badges. And so that ESA consultation manual will help with that. And the toolkit, as you could read, provides the resource managers with the tools and information to deal with the drycenid introduction. And it includes lots of different things like the manual, the incident command structure and system, and a lot of resources, labs that you can go to, et cetera. So the stuff that was in the 233-page Columbia River Basin Plan will now be found online. So we had signatories in the 2008 plan, so what we're toying with right now, and we'll have a decision in the next few weeks, we're probably going to go with a declaration of cooperation. And it's going to be the same type of thing where the agencies will pledge we will work together. Maybe we can get a little more teeth in that, I don't know. So look forward to seeing that in the coming weeks. As part of the Columbia River Basin Plan, we test it through exercises. We started them in 2007 with a lot of different agencies. We've had them in Montana. We had one at Kalispell for Flathead Lake, and we had one in Libby for Lake Koocanusa. And the picture you see there is from our most recent exercise at Hell's Canyon in Idaho. And ISDA hosted that. There's a list of all the rapid response exercises we've done since 2007. At the beginning in 2007, 2008, we were just trying to get organized, trying to figure out ICS. We do include ICS training with all of our exercises. Most recently, the Hell's Canyon exercise, we kind of stepped back away a little bit from ICS. We believe we're at the position now if the agency so wish that we can probably rope it off and nuke it with, if you don't have a lot of salmon swimming around especially. Obviously, the salmonids make it more difficult, but again, that's part of the ESA manual, that's where that will help. We do have 2 exercises planned coming up, Oregon, maybe in the Deschutes Basin in 2020, and then Nevada, 2020, 2021. And don't forget that in 2 weeks, and talk to Alan Ployces here with WDFW, they're doing a massive BOR-funded exercise at Kettle Falls. So that'll be exciting to see what happens out of that. They're going to put barriers in the water and put dye out there. It's going to be exciting. I just wanted to say before I turn it over to Theresa, one of the parts of rapid response is having good monitoring, data obviously, but also coordinating it. You guys talked about eDNA earlier. As part of the Columbia River Basin team, we do have a monitoring forum, and Tim Cunahan, Tim, put your hand up. Tim Cunahan and Robin Drawheim are the co-chairs of our monitoring forum, and you can read there. We're strategizing how to increase the efficacy of regional early detection monitoring efforts. Our next meeting of the Columbia River Basin team is the 22nd and 23rd in Portland at the Embassy Suites by the airport, and we will have up to a half day of monitoring forum there to figure out, what do you think, Tim? We'll get all the eDNA stuff figured out there? Okay, sounds good. And then, of course, part of our monitoring, we've got the map that's on the Western EIS website. Robin Drawheim will be soon sending out requests for data for 2018 and 19, and I will turn it over to you.
All right. Thank you. Teamwork. Solutions. Where's D? Yeah, okay. All right, I know last year we presented about the Section 7 manual, and I can proudly say that we're about to roll it out. It is rolling out. You'll probably have an email in your inbox probably next week. Yep, so it's moments away from being completed. Yeah, it is. The check's in the mail. No, for real.
It is. Really?
And so really the goal of this manual is to really highlight the use of, our work to respond to dracinid mussels and not impact our endangered species. And so we wanted to highlight how to use the emergency consultation process with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, and then summarize treatment options that are most likely to occur in an open water system for dracinid mussels, and then also include best management practices for mitigating, reducing, or eliminating impacts to non-target species like our ESA listed species. And so it's 165 pages. It's got 2 really big tables with listed species. The focus really is the Columbia River Basin in response to dracinid mussels in the CRB. We've had a lot of people in this room helped to do a peer review of it, and we really do feel that it's going to be a useful tool for our upcoming rapid response exercises. So, and then it relates to all of our summary that we just talked about, the manual, the rapid response exercises, the plan. It ties into a directive that was given to in the federal appropriations bill in FY19, this last fiscal year, directing the Department of Interior to work with our other agencies, including the Forest Service and Army Corps of Engineers, as well as the Western Governors Association in Western states, to implement or develop an ICS framework to address invasive mussels. And I'm not sure if Hillary is going to talk a little bit about this tomorrow in her talk, but this is a really important component of facilitating our work across all of our different agencies and working as a team on this. And we were able to contribute a lot from our lessons learned and our information here in the Columbia River Basin into this process, as well as work in other regions. So, but again, it's sharing lessons learned and coordinating together to really be more as efficient as possible when we're addressing an emergency like an invasive mussel infestation. So that's it. Short and sweet.